Hello you cutie, welcome to my first ever YouTube video. I'm Elizabeth and this is Bobby, my assistant, and today we're going to thrift flip my favourite summer looks from Pinterest. So let's get into the video. First on today's list is this gorgeous dress I thrifted for only £1. I absolutely love the neckline and the print, but apart from that neckline, there isn't much else going on in terms of design. So let's see if we can make it a bit more interesting. Here's the Pinterest inspo for this dress. You'll need to use your imagination a little, just picture the lemon print on top of these designs. I really like these cute little dresses, especially the bottom of this one, and I'm obsessed with the double ruched trim and the way it's finished with a lettuce hem. It's just so pretty. So this is the design I've come up with for my new dress. I'll keep the original neckline because I do think it's lovely. First, I cut off the lower part of the lemon dress, which I'll be using later for the ruffles. Then I turned the top part of the dress inside out and laid one of my fitted dresses on top as a guide. I traced around it to get the shape of my new dress, making sure to leave enough space for the seam allowance. I cut one side first and then used that piece as a template to cut the other side so both sides would be even. Next, I took the lower part of the lemon dress and cut two trims of fabric. One shorter piece for the upper ruffles and a longer one for the ones underneath. I also removed the original hem because I wanted to finish it off with a lettuce edge instead. After that, I quickly sewed up the sides of my new dress and then added the lettuce hem to the bottom edge of the skirt. To create the lettuce hem, set your sewing machine to a zigzag stitch and lower the thread tension. Place the edge of your fabric under the presser foot with the right side facing up. As you sew, gently stretch the fabric, both in front of and behind the presser foot. Keep pulling the fabric all the way along the hemline. The more you stretch it, the wavier your hem will turn out. Just keep in mind that this technique only works on stretchy fabrics, and you'll need a ballpoint needle to get the best results. And in the end, you get this cute wavy finish. Next, I layered the shorter trim over the longer one. Using a needle and thread, I hand sewed a line along the top edge, gathering the fabric as I went to create the ruffled effect. Then I attached the ruffles to the bodice. I had a small bit of fabric left over, so I decided to make a matching headband.
Mother, are you busy? I think you need me. Please scratch my belly. I'm your bestie, the one and only Bobby, the fluffy puppy.
For the lining, I used some scrap fabric I had left from another project.
Mother, are you busy?
And quickly sewed it all together. And here it is, my new lemon dress. I absolutely love how it turned out. I feel like I should be wandering around a lemon grove on the Amalfi Coast in this. I'll definitely be packing it for my next trip to Italy, whenever that might be. The matching headband turned out really sweet as well. It just finishes off the whole look perfectly, and I love it. For our next project, we're rescuing this gorgeous beaded shawl. I've actually had this photo saved on Pinterest for ages, and I can't believe I managed to find the exact same shawl in a charity shop. The only difference is the colour, but honestly, I think mine is even prettier. And the best part, it only cost me £1. The only problem is that it has two rips, which aren't easy to fix, but I think I've come up with a solution. Here's the Pinterest mood board I'm manifesting for this project. I've saved so many beachy inspo pics in orange tones, and I can't wait to finally have my own sparkly orange piece to match the vibe. If you are wondering why I'm uploading a summer-related video in the middle of autumn, well, I started filming this in August and basically
started making it, had a breakdown. Bon appetit.
I'll do my best not to have another minor existential crisis while filming the next one. With any luck, you might even see it before Christmas of 2027. Now back to the sparkly shawl. First, I laid the shawl out flat on the floor. Then I placed an orange scarf I'd thrifted for 50p on top of it and pinned it in place, making sure both fabrics sat nice and flat. After that, I sewed them together. Now, I did accidentally put the pins on the wrong side, but I'd already spent ages pinning, so I just carried on and pretended it didn't bother me. Of course, it meant I had to take them out blind while stabbing my fingers the whole way through, but whatever, it is what it is. Next, I cut away the ripped fabric, as well as the excess sides of the scarf I'd added. To finish it off neatly and make the join between the two fabrics look more professional, I ran a zigzag stitch along the edges. And here it is. I honestly can't believe how stunning it looks now, and I'm so happy I managed to rescue it for only £1.50 in total. I love that there are so many different ways I can wear this piece, and I can't wait to take it on my next holiday, whenever that might be. Next up is this floral printed top with lace detailing, which I'm going to transform into a cute baby doll top. I absolutely love thrifting pieces with lace because you can play around with them and create so many interesting designs. Here's the Pinterest inspo for this piece, and this is the design I've come up with. I started by carefully removing the lace. On the inside of the top, I found these pieces of fabric that have been added to finish off the lace neatly, and I decided to repurpose those as my new straps. If you're enjoying this project, please don't forget to give this video a like and please subscribe to the channel. I'd love for you to be part of this creative journey with me. It's my first long format video and there's so much more thrifting, transformations, Bobby songs and fun content coming up. So join me and let's create something amazing together. Here's the lace I saved. The larger piece will become the waistband, and the smaller ones I'll add as extra detailing to the ruffled bodice. Next, I traced and cut out the bust pattern using the pattern from a top I'd previously made. If you're interested, you can find this pattern along with others on my Etsy shop. I'll leave the link in the description. Then I cut the lower part of the top into two sections, one longer and one shorter. I cut the shorter piece again so I'd have enough fabric to create ruffles at the hem. After that, I cut out the back panel, and for the bust lining I used some scrap fabric left over, the same I used earlier for the hairband. I sewed the straps first and added them to the bust pieces. Then I stitched the bust pieces together with the lining on the inside before flipping them so the seams look nice and clean. I added a running stitch down the centre of each bust piece, then pulled the threads to create a ruched effect. I then adjusted them to fit perfectly onto the lace waistband and then sewed them in place. For the bodice, I hand sewed a running stitch along the top edge and gathered it to create the ruffle effect. I adjusted the gathers so the bodice matched the waistband and stitched them together. Then I added the smaller lace trims I'd saved earlier for an extra touch of detail. For the back, I made a channel in the upper panel, then gathered the lower back panel in the same way I did the bodice. I sewed the two back panels together, threaded elastic through the channel, and secured it in place. Then I added the lace trim and sewed the sides of the top together. Next, I hemmed the edge of the smaller ruffle trim. To make the ruffles for this part of the top, I used the sewing machine this time. It's so much quicker when you're working with long strips of fabric. Here's how you do it. First, set your machine tension to the highest number it will go. Then, adjust your stitch length to the longest setting. Start sewing along the edge of your fabric trim without back stitching at the beginning. As you sew, you'll see the fabric start to gather on its own, and before long, you've got a perfectly ruffled trim. I quickly added the ruffles to the top and then added a top stitch to make sure they stayed in place. At this point, I had to hide from the sun and draw the curtains. After all, UK citizens are only allowed 10 minutes of sun exposure per decade, 15 minutes in, and I already had a headache, and I was questioning every single life choice that led me to sit near a window during a heatwave. Finally, I hand-sewed a little white bow in the middle as the finishing touch. And here it is, my new baby doll top. How exciting! I honestly think it turned out even better than I imagined, and I can't wait to wear it. Hopefully on my next holiday, if I ever manage to get one. Next on the list is this gorgeous pink top. I love wearing pink, and when I spotted this one in the charity shop, I immediately thought of this top I'd saved on Pinterest. I just had to have it. It's not quite my size, but that's an easy fix. Here's the Pinterest inspo for our cute pink top. Next to the pink tops, I added these early 2000s tops, which I like to call the Beaded Neckline Craze, and decided to create my very own version of an early 2000s beaded neckline craze top. First, I drew a line with an erasable pen about 2 centimeters away from the sides and underarms. Then I decided I didn't like the 3/4 sleeves and wanted them shorter, so I went ahead and cut them off. Next, I pinned the sides and underarms and sewed them in place to resize the top. After that, I trimmed away the extra fabric and hemmed the sleeves. For the beaded neckline, I chose these pink sequins and flowers and some yellow sequins.
Mother, I woke up and now I'm your problem. Your little fluffy puppy, the one and only Bobby.
And I also used a few pink sand beads as well. I started by cutting the sequin flowers from the fabric they were originally sewn onto. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to grab some for yourself. Then I began hand sewing the flowers onto the neckline, adding cute beads around them, followed by the yellow sequins and beads. Normally I plan my beadwork in advance, but this time I just went with the flow, and I think it turned out so fun. And here's the top I ended up with. I think it looks absolutely gorgeous. The beading took over 3 hours to complete, but it was so worth it. Now I have my very own cute little 2000s beaded neckline craze top. And the best part is that I can wear this one right here in London. I don't need a holiday to show it off. This next project is super exciting because it's a pair of jeans. I love nothing more than thrift flipping jeans. There are just so many things you can make from them. And this particular pair has me even more excited because of this gorgeous flower print. I'm going to use the upper part to show you how easy it is to make a skirt with ruffles. And from the rest, I'll create a cute summery top inspired by these cute Pinterest pictures I've saved. We'll start with the skirt first. Usually there's a bit in the middle of the crotch area that sticks out, but don't worry, later I'll show you how to fix it. I began by cutting off the upper part of the jeans, then opened up the legs.
And
From one leg, I cut 2 strips of fabric. These will become our ruffles. Next, I unpicked the seams in the middle of the crotch area and tucked in the extra fabric. Make sure the back sits flat as well. If it doesn't, do the same for the back panel. Once that was sorted, I quickly sewed the front in place and trimmed away any extra fabric. Then I hemmed the long fabric strips and hand gathered them to create the ruffles, making sure the length matched the skirt. Finally, I sewed the ruffles in place. And here's the skirt we've made. Skirts like this are actually super easy to make. So if you've got a pair of jeans you don't wear anymore, give it a go. You can turn them into a cute skirt in no time. I actually really like this one, it's so pretty. Now for the top. Here's the Pinterest inspo I gathered. And this is the design we will create. I'll be using a sewing pattern I made a few months ago. If you'd like to make a top like this yourself, you can find the pattern on my Etsy shop. I'll leave the link in the description. I started by tracing and cutting out my pattern. While editing, I just noticed how effortlessly I drew this straight line. I thought that was kind of cool. For one of the back panels, I didn't have a big enough piece of fabric, so I sewed 2 remaining pieces together to create a large enough piece to cut the second back panel. Next, I hemmed the bust pieces and added ruching. Then I chose this dusty blue lace trim for some detailing. I thought it worked nicely with the floral pattern. I added it to the bust pieces, the bodice, and under the bust. After that, I sewed the bust pieces and bodice together and hemmed the back panels. For the back loops, I used some silk cord. I cut 4cm pieces and attached them to the back panels. Then I sewed the front and back together and hemmed the armholes and the bottom edge of the top. Finally, I laced up the back and the top was complete. And here is my cute flowery lacy summer top. I'm honestly obsessed with how it turned out. It fits so nicely and feels super comfortable. And I just love the laced up back. It really gives such a snatched, flattering waistline. Honestly, I think this might have to be one of my new favourite tops. Let me know in the comments which one was your favourite. Please like and subscribe if you want to see more content from me and Bobby. See you soon and have a lovely week, you cutie.